The European Union is proposing a 15% cut in natural gas consumption in EU countries. That move comes as Russian supply remains a big question mark as the winter looms. While the maintenance period for the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline is scheduled to end today, Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning that if a turbine isn't returned right away, that's a turbine that spent some time right here in Canada, supply will be tightly curbed. We're joined now by Timothy Ash, Senior Sovereign Strategist for Emerging Markets with Blue Bay Asset Management. Timothy, thanks a lot for joining us. Russia has used its natural gas as a tool of geopolitical influence for many, many years, long before the Ukraine war started. How realistic is the prospects of Russia seriously constraining the flow of natural gas to Germany and Europe later this year?
Well, it's already happening. I mean, if you look at the flows through Ukraine and then Nord Stream 1, I mean, even with the generator back, they're only going back to 40% supply from Nord Stream 1 from today. And if you look at the annualized flows from Russia to Europe, I mean, last year they did about 155 billion cubic meters. This year they'll probably only do 40. So the reality is Russia is already using it as a geopolitical tool. This winter is critical. I think very, very likely Putin will think that, he'll try and force some kind of peace deal down Ukraine's throats this winter. And by creating a gas crisis in Europe, he'll hope to get the Europeans to pressurize the Ukrainians to accept whatever deal he pushes. So it's my base case. And the reality is Europe does not have enough gas to get through the winter unless it massively reduces demand.
Interesting. Is rationing of natural gas in Germany or other European countries a strong possibility?
Well, I think both the German government and the European Union, actually in the IMF, have been pretty clear that on current trends, with the current supply dynamics, Europe will have to cut demand by 10 to 15%. And that means either two options: prices have to rise very significantly to end users, particularly retail consumers, to ensure that, or push them to reduce consumption, or there will have to be rationing, particularly in the manufacturing sector, particularly, and that's going to affect Central Europe, southern Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, Slovakia. And what do they make? They make cars, manufactured goods, capital goods. They're really important for global supply chains. So I think, it's not just about Europe, it's about the global economy. And I think post-COVID, we all know about the vulnerability of supply chains.
You said earlier your base case is that Vladimir Putin tries to, in your words, shove a peace deal down the throats of the Ukrainian government. If Ukraine and Western nations, European nations reject that type of peace deal, what happens to the natural gas market in Europe during the cold winter months?
Well, Russia will continue to restrict supplies. I mean, that's fairly evident. I mean, Putin has a track record, as you mentioned. He's done this many times. He's been a malign actor. You could go back to the war in 2008 in Georgia. There's a track record here. I mean, the problem is the Germans, etc., failed to kind of read the tea leaves. I mean, they were pretty clear. And they became over-dependent on Russian energy, and now we have the consequences. I should say that, Putin will try and force this peace deal down the Ukrainians' throats. Again, try and get the Europeans to force the Ukrainians to concede. The Ukrainians won't. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, if you look at the opinion polls, sort of 90% of Ukrainians say they're not willing to give territorial concessions to Moscow. So it becomes a very difficult situation.
Canada has been a player in this story of late. We're talking about the turbine or turbines that were in Canada for maintenance by Siemens. And there was under restrictions that Canada imposed on Russia, under normal circumstances, the turbine would not have been returned. The Vice Chancellor of Germany implored Canada to make an exception and return the turbine. That was done. There are differing opinions on whether that was the right thing to do or not. Do you have a view on the turbine question?
Look, in the end, it's about not giving Putin excuses for cutting off the gas. I mean, that's what he's pretending that it's about technical issues. And the turbine was one of those technical issues it used. The reality is that there's plenty of transit capacity to get Russian gas to Europe. If you forget about Nord Stream 1, The pipelines are still operating through Ukraine. It has an annual transit capacity of about 120 billion cubic meters. It can transit 2/3 of Russian gas. Russia's decided it doesn't want to do that. And he doesn't want to do it because it wants to restrict gas supplies to Europe. That's the reality. Not about technical issues. Not about the turbine in reality. It's simply Putin wants to play gas in a geopolitical way against Europe. We're in the gas war, as well as the war in Ukraine.
I guess if we ask ourselves the question, why did Germany and Europe allow itself to become so dependent on Russian gas? The answer is that the thinking was that if we become significant customers of Russian gas, Russia will be a commercial partner of ours, and over time, perhaps Russia will be encouraged to join the membership of responsible nations. That thinking surely is in tatters now.
Well, I mean, I have to stop myself using swear words to describe that policy, but the reality is it totally and utterly failed, right? Germany totally misread Russia, totally misread Putin. They put all the eggs in the Russian energy basket, and now they're paying the price for that. I mean, you have to look at also, Russia's business and political establishment really got bought off by Russian money. In essence. And again, Germany needs to look at its conscience, why it ended up in this situation. I mean, none of us come out looking particularly good in this. I mean, London also, the London laundromat, Russia, UK's willingness to accept, Russian oligarch money is also a big issue. But the situation that we're in at the moment in Europe with this energy crisis, and it is an energy crisis, is because of this, bad German decisions, geopolitical decisions by Germany. And, they're going to pay the price now over this winter. And unfortunately, actually, the guys paying the biggest price are the Ukrainians that have been invaded because Putin thought he had leverage with gas and with other factors as well. So, it's a sad situation.